Okay, so this might be the last installment in this BMF Reborn series. So y'all better go get your popcorn and your za and get ready for a movie. But if any of y'all ain't seen the first 3 BMF Reborns yet, then hit that pause button, go into the description and hit those links and watch those first, then come back here for this grand finale.
Alright, you kids get to bed, I get the storybook.
BMF Reborn. Big Meech and 50 Cent finna die. Chapter 1. G-Unit in the Desert Shadows. The flight to Saudi Arabia was silent, tense, and purposeful. G-Unit intelligence agents Carter, Bishop, and Johnson sat in the plush seats of a BMFville chartered jet, their demeanor calm but minds sharp, rehearsing the mission they had been entrusted with. The orders from Vice President Flenory and President 50 Cent were clear. Infiltrate, gather intel, and return with actionable intelligence to counter the Saudi prince's growing threat. The stakes were high. The princes had already made moves against BMFville, targeting its VP's son with sabotage and manipulation. A counterstrike required more than brute force. It demanded precision, strategy, and an understanding of the enemy's power structure. As the jet touched down in Riyadh, the agents blended into the sea of international travelers, their civilian attire masking their true purpose. They passed through customs with forged identities, their gear concealed in inconspicuous luggage. The team rendezvoused at a safe house on the outskirts of the city, a modest villa procured through one of BMFville's international contacts. The villa's interior was stripped bare of personal effects, save for a table cluttered with laptops with intricate maps, desktop computers, and encrypted phones. "All right," Carter began, leaning over a map of Riyadh and its surrounding regions. "We're not here to shake the hornet's nest. We're here to observe and identify key players in the Saudi royal families. Anything we can use, weaknesses, rivalries, dirty secrets, we report back. Word is, the princes are split into factions," Johnson added, scrolling through intelligence files on his laptop. "The Al Saud dynasty's inner politics are complicated. If we can pinpoint dissent within their ranks, we might be able to exploit it." Bishop nodded, his expression grim. "This ain't just about defending 50 and Meech. This is about making sure they think twice before coming at us again." Chapter 2. The Recon Mission. For the next 3 days, the agents moved discreetly through Riyadh, gathering intelligence. Carter posed as a corporate consultant, using staged meetings to get closer to figures in the Saudi financial sector. Johnson monitored communications and hacked into encrypted networks, searching for whispers of royal infighting or connections to BMFville's enemies. Bishop, the team's muscle and master of disguise, infiltrated high-end social gatherings, posing as an international investor. It wasn't long before patterns began to emerge. The team identified 3 key princes actively working against BMFville. 1. Prince Ahmed, a military strategist with ties to private mercenaries. 2. Prince Faisal, an ambitious politician with access to vast resources. 3rd, Prince Omar, a shadowy figure rumored to oversee covert operations for the royal family. Johnson compiled a dossier on each prince, piecing together their movements, associates, and potential vulnerabilities. "We've got something," he announced one evening, tapping on his laptop. "Prince Ahmed has been meeting with a mercenary group in a private compound outside the city. They're stockpiling weapons, likely for an operation targeting BMFville or even the United States." The agents decided to surveil the compound, venturing into the desert under the cover of night. Equipped with high-tech optics and drones, they observed the site from a concealed position. The compound was heavily guarded, its perimeter lined with armed men and surveillance cameras. Inside, the agents spotted convoys of black SUVs, crates of weapons, and several figures entering a central building. "We got these motherfuckers," Carter whispered, snapping photos through his binoculars. "That's Prince Ahmed." Johnson, monitoring the drone feed, chimed in. "And he ain't alone. Looks like some high-ranking officials are in on this too." As the team documented the activity, Bishop's voice cut through the comms. "We've got movement. Perimeter patrol heading this way." The agents froze as two armed guards approached their position, flashlights slicing through the darkness. Bishop signaled for silence, his hand resting on the grip of his suppressed glizzy with a drum mag. The guards paused, scanning the area, then turned and walked away. The team exhaled in unison, the tension thick in the air. Chapter 3. Escape and Debrief. Returning to the safe house, the agents compiled their findings into an encrypted report for Big Meech and 50 Cent. The intel painted a clear picture. The princes were preparing for a large-scale offensive against BMFville, leveraging mercenaries and advanced weaponry. "We've got enough to plan a counterattack," Carter said, sending the report through a secure channel. "Now it's up to the bosses to decide how we hit back." As they prepared to leave Riyadh, the agents knew their mission was far from over. They had struck a blow against their enemies, but the war was only beginning, and their suspicions were right, because that following morning, as they were heading out, Vice President Flenory commanded them to go over to the coastal city of Al-Qatif because he had received a tip from one of BMFville's hackers in their intel sector that the seducer of his son was from that town, and he wanted them to find her while they were over there and bring her back to America, or BMFville. Chapter 4. The Spotting. Al-Qatif's bustling waterfront shimmered under the golden sunset, its streets alive with the hum of life. Among the crowd, Fatima strolled gracefully, her dark hair concealed beneath a flowing abaya. She blended seamlessly into the environment, yet her presence was anything but ordinary. Her poise, her subtle glances, it was clear she was no mere citizen. Ever since returning home, after her successful mission for the princes, she had a foreboding feeling that something bad was going to happen to her. 6 months ago, when she was preparing for her mission to seduce Lil Meech, she also did research on his dad and President 50 Cent. Big Meech was definitely scary, having gotten away with a murder and having a drug army of gangsters at his beck and call back in the BMF glory days. But President 50 Cent was definitely the one she was frightened of. Penetrating eyes just drilled into her soul as she stared at the album cover for his debut album, Get Rich or Die Tryin'. In one of his songs called I'm Supposed to Die Tonight, he rapped, "Don't know if I'm God's child or I'm Satan's angel." She would bet her left arm that he was definitely one of the devil's demons. As she moved around her city, she didn't even notice the two G-Unit agents, Carter and Bishop, who had spotted her by accident. They observed her every move. They had been tailing Fatima for days, waiting for the perfect moment to grab her. "This is her," Bishop muttered into his concealed mic. "Fatima," target confirmed. On the other end of the line, Big Meech's voice crackled through. "You know the orders. Grab that bitch and hop on the plane. No noise, no mistakes." The agents adjusted their sunglasses, subtly signaling their driver, a third operative parked in a discreet SUV. Fatima stopped at a cafe along the promenade, sitting at an outdoor table. She sipped tea, her expression calm, but eyes scanning, ever aware of her surroundings. "That bitch is bad," Carter noted, staring at Fatima's enhanced ass. "But I have to stay focused." The agents approached the cafe casually, their movements unremarkable to anyone watching. When Carter reached her table, he made a show of fumbling with his phone. "Excuse me, miss. I think I dropped this." The distraction worked perfectly. Bishop moved behind her in a flash, a needle concealed in his palm. He jabbed her arm lightly, and before she could scream or resist, the sedative took hold. Fatima slumped forward, and Carter caught her with a concerned act, muttering to onlookers in broken Arabic. "She's fainted. Heat stroke." Together, they carried her to the waiting SUV, loading her into the back seat. Within moments, the car sped off, disappearing into the labyrinth of Al-Qatif's narrow streets. Chapter 5. Interrogation at the Telly. The sterile hotel room overlooked a deserted highway, far removed from the lively streets of Al-Qatif. Fatima sat in a chair, wrists bound with reinforced zip ties. Her eyes fluttered open, and she took in her surroundings with a calculated calm. "You're awake," Bishop said, leaning against the wall. Fatima fixed him with a glare. "You don't know what you've done." Carter entered the room, carrying a small metal case. "Oh, we know exactly what we've done, and we're about to do a lot more." He opened the case, revealing an array of devices, recorders, photos, documents. "You've been working against BMFville," Carter began. "You thought you could toy with Lil Meech, manipulate him, feed the Saudis information on our operations. But you underestimated us," Fatima smirked. "You think you're in control? You're already playing into their hands." Bishop stepped forward. "Let me make one thing clear. This is not a negotiation. You tell us everything. Who sent you, what the plan is, or you won't like what happens next." Fatima leaned back, her smirk unwavering. "You Americans think you're untouchable? The princes will burn this place to the ground before they let you leave with me." As if on cue, Johnson sauntered into the room, the legs on his 6-foot frame carrying him over to Fatima quickly. Before she could say anything, the dark-skinned agent pulled out a butane torch and flamed it up, aiming the hot blue torch at her face to scare her, his fellow agents having stripped her down to her nakedness as part of their interrogation techniques. All three men had developed strong erections and looked at each other as they all thought the same thing. But before any of them could get some pleasure out of running a train on the beautiful spy, she used her tongue to dig a poisonous pill out of her mouth, swallowing it and convulsing from its effects until she slumped forward in her chair, her heart stopping immediately. Fatima had chosen to take herself out, rather than be taken back to BMFville to face Meech and 50 Cent. She had always had a feeling that something bad would happen to her one day, due to the line of work she was in, therefore kept a poisonous pill in her mouth to swallow when that time came. Chapter 6. Wheeling and Dealing with Donald Duck. President Jackson sat across the desk from President Donald Trump in the White House as the G-Unit agents called Meech with the bad news that Fatima had self-destructed. "Damn it. I wanted her brought back here to BMFville. I was gonna pipe her down with an aluminum bat, then chop her head off with a chainsaw," he yelled into the phone. At that same time, President 50 was working out a deal with President Trump in regards to selling America barrels of his and Meech's crude oil at discounted prices, which would help drop the gas prices even more and make Trump look like a savior in exchange for the usage of their military to launch strikes on the Saudis. After 3 hours of haggling, the Don finally agreed upon a price, then called the Pentagon to see which troops he could send over to Saudi Arabia to assist the BMF Saudi war.
"President 50, you BMFville boys sure do drive a hard bargain, but when those gas prices hit $1.39, my worshipers will kiss my feet."
Chapter 7. The Enemy Within. The sprawling palace in Riyadh was bathed in golden light as the Saudi princes convened. Their disdain for BMFville, a sovereign and independent nation over in America, spearheaded by 50 Cent and Big Meech, had reached its peak. The princes saw an opportunity in the United States' dislike for BMFville's defiance. Through discreet channels, they enlisted the FBI's cooperation. The bureau director told them he was sending over one of his top men, Super Agent Vlad Feldman, undercover as a white YouTuber who became rich from launching a hip-hop-style interview platform, was secretly a federal agent. For a full background on him, just check out the SAV videos on the YouTube channel, GK David Movie Stories, if you're not already there now. Vlad flew to Riyadh and was briefed on the operation in a luxurious conference room. The slimy lawman grinned as he leaned back in his chair, looking at the two men sent by the princes to debrief him on what they wanted from him.
You want 50 Cent? You've come to the right guy. I've been cool with his best friend, a guy named Tony Yayo, for a decade now.
Vlad smirked as the Saudis eyed him with interest.
50's a sneaky bastard, but we've been trying to get him for over 12 years now. Every time the Bureau thinks we have something on him, he slips through our net. I've been having Yayo come on my show as a regular guest, hoping he gives up something, but he never does.
The two Saudis finished listening, then began questioning the slimy American, wanting assurance that him and his federal bureau will be able to help them if they made a large enough donation to their bank account. Special Agent Vlad cracked a huge smile, assuring the men that he would do that and more before leaving for a flight back to the States. Chapter 8. Terroristic Threats. Vlad reached out to Tony Yayo, inviting him for another guest appearance on Vlad TV, as he usually does every other month or so. For the well-known Queens, New York MC, it seemed like just another routine interview, a chance to reminisce about his time with G Unit and reveal new foreign places he's been, and exotic foods he's snacked on.
Nigga, me and Murder ate unicorn soup in Poland and penguin pork chops in Portugal. Them Brooklyn niggas love hanging out with us Queens guys.
Little did he know Vlad had a far more sinister agenda instead. When Yayo arrived at Vlad's New York studio, located in Tribeca, he was called into the undercover agent's office, escorted by 3 of his burly bodyguards, who were actually federal agents as well, and met with a chilling ultimatum. On Vlad's fancy mahogany wood desk was laid out a kilo of pure cocaine, a large bag of Molly, and Glock pistol with the serial number scratched off.
Hey, Yayo, you and me been cool for a long time now, but I have to let you know something. I'm a special agent with the FBI, and I want you to cooperate with me, and you'll walk out of here free.
Yayo looked at Vlad with a smirk and told him to stop playing with him so they could start the interview. But Vlad wore a serious expression on his face and looked at his security, who all pulled out semi-automatic weapons and cocked them for effect as the beginning of a confused look started forming on Yayo's mug.
Nigga, you the feds for real?
Hell yeah! All the people on the internet saying I'm the feds was right. Now, I need you to plant this dope and this hot gun in your boy 50's house down in BMFville, or the place over in Connecticut so we can bust his ass. If you do that, this'll all go away.
Vlad finished, his tone icy. Tony Yayo became enraged.
50 is my nigga. I would die for my bro.
Then he began yelling threats at Vlad, the man he thought was his friend.
If you ain't have all these WWE-looking niggas in here, I'd mollywop your bitch-ass Vlad.
I'm a federal agent, so if you lay one finger on me, I'll have your black ass hauled down to MDC Brooklyn and thrown in a cell with Diddy, and we'll see what happens when you drop your bar of Dove soap during shower time.
This was enough to cause Yayo to lunge at the creepy cop, causing one of his bodyguard/agents, a man with 24-inch biceps, to put the rapper in a chokehold until he nearly passed out. When he came back to, he reluctantly agreed to the trickery, and Vlad handed him the drugs and gun, which he placed in a black Nike duffel bag.
And Yayo, if you don't do this, I'll have a few of my FBI black ops boys go plant a bomb in your house or something. Don't play with me.
Vlad threatened Yayo back before motioning for his men to escort him to the front door. Chapter 9. BMFville's Twin Towers are targeted. In downtown BMFville, 2 towering skyscrapers stood as a testament to resilience and remembrance. Designed as near replicas of Manhattan's original Twin Towers, these standing 118 floors instead of 110, President 50 Cent had them built to honor the memory of 4 relatives he lost during the September 11 attacks. The towers, shimmering symbols of hope and unity, became a focal point of the sovereign nation of BMFville. Little did they know, a sinister plot was brewing in the Saudi Arabian shadows because, in a hidden desert compound, the Saudi princes convened to hatch a catastrophic plan. They saw BMFville as a growing threat to their global influence and a mockery of their attempts to destabilize the region. One prince stood, addressing the room. BMFville's Twin Towers are their pride. To knock them down like the Afghans did, the ones in New York City would not only shatter their spirits, but also serve as a warning to anyone who dares defy us. Their plan was audacious. wrap one of their Boeing 767s to look like a Spirit Airlines plane, load it with explosives, and crash it into one of the towers, triggering an explosion powerful enough to obliterate BMFville and most of northern Georgia, including Atlanta. The Saudis placed an undercover operative, Omar, as an engineer working within BMFville. His task was to provide intel on the tower's structural vulnerabilities and coordinate with the pilots of the doomed plane. Using her cover, Omar planted small but significant sabotage points in the tower's fire suppression systems, ensuring that even a minor explosion would escalate into an uncontrollable inferno. Chapter 10. Big Meech Catches Wind. Vice President Flenory, ever vigilant about threats to BMFville, intercepted a cryptic message between the Saudi princes and their operative. The message spoke of delivering fire from the skies. Meech knew this was more than just rhetoric. He convened an emergency meeting with President 50 Cent, who immediately ordered G-Unit intelligence to investigate.
This president shit is harder than I thought.
50 said, slamming his fist on the table.
We gotta stop this before it starts.
G-Unit operatives tracked Omar's communications and uncovered the chilling details of the attack. The fake Spirit Airlines 767, loaded with a mix of conventional explosives and advanced Saudi-engineered devices, was already en route to a covert airstrip in central Florida to sit until it was time to strike its target up in Georgia. Time was running out. The operatives relayed their findings to 50 and Meech. "This ain't just about BMFville," Meech said. "If they pull this off, the A and half of Georgia is gonna be blown off the map like Hiroshima in 1945, my nigga." Chapter 11. If I Was Your Best Friend. A day later, after a private dinner at 50 Cent's residence in BMFville, Yayo seized his chance to plant the drugs and gun in his best friend's house. As 50 sat drunk, laughing at lyrics Uncle Murda rapped to him for that year's upcoming wrap-up song, the G-Unit soldier slipped into 50's master bedroom, his hands trembling, and stuffed the drugs and gun under the plush $200,000 mattress. As he crept out of the expansive bedroom room, quietly closing the door behind him, he froze in his tracks. 50 and Murda were standing there staring at him.
What the fuck you doing in my room, Yayo?
After a brief hesitation, Tony tried to come up with a quick lie, but was so used to telling the truth that he couldn't. When Uncle Murda jokingly mentioned that Yayo was up to something because he saw sweat coming down his face, 50 quickly pulled out his FNP .45 caliber weapon and aimed it at his best friend.
Nigga, why you look like you just snitched on the whole gang? What the fuck is going on, Yayo? You done seen me murk 8 niggas before back when we was kids on the south side, so don't play with me.
Without any more hesitation, Tony Yayo dropped down to his knees, racked with guilt, and described how Vlad was really a special agent with the FBI and wanted him to set 50 up so they bust him. Tony's tears were foreign to President Fifth. He'd known this fool since he was 11 years old and ain't never seen him cry, even when he got out of prison and went right back in a day later. Something in 50's heart made him feel that Yayo was a genuine friend and would never do anything to hurt him. After the sob session concluded, 50 contacted Big Meech and filled him in on the event, both men promising Yayo that he didn't have to worry about the feds killing him, like Vlad threatened, because they were relocating him from New York to BMFville, where he would have around-the-clock protection.
I told that nigga to stop doing them damn Vlad interviews. I knew it was something about that white boy.
50 said to Meech as they walked through the large hallways of the Black House.
After we deal with these Saudis, we gonna tighten Vlad ass up. That's on my dead mama, Meech.
Final chapter. Stop that Spirit Airlines plane. President Jackson and Vice President Meech devised a bold countermeasure to the Saudis' threat. Working with BMFville's elite defense unit and Trump's promised U.S. military personnel, they planned to intercept the fake Spirit Airlines plane before it reached BMFville airspace. A false signal was sent, redirecting the pilots of the 767, which G-Unit agents had been surveilling for over a week, waiting for movement, to an abandoned airstrip near Jacksonville, under the guise of an emergency repair needed to continue their flight. The Saudi pilots weren't tough nor intelligent like the Al-Qaeda hijackers were, and stupidly agreed to land the plane instead of ignoring the instructions. Waiting at the Duval County airstrip was a full tactical team ready for action. Meanwhile, BMFville's defense grid was fortified, and the towers were evacuated under the guise of a routine safety drill. As the 767 descended onto the abandoned airstrip, expecting a quick routine stop, the pilots were met with over 75 agents and law enforcement boarding the plane and arresting them, neutralizing the crew, and disarming the large cache of explosives. Omar, among the crew, realized his mission had failed and attempted to escape, but was apprehended by Big Meech himself, who punched him in the left eye, still jacked up from the prison workouts. "You thought you could bring us down?" Meech said, staring at the skinny Arab coward whose eye started mousing up. "BMFville won't fall. Not now, not ever." Evidence from the operation was broadcast globally, exposing the Saudi prince's involvement in the plot. The international community condemned the act, isolating the perpetrators and crippling their political influence. President 50 Cent addressed his sovereign nation from the steps of BMFville's Twin Towers Tower 2.
They tried to get us, but we got their ass instead. These towers stand not just as a memorial, but as a message. No matter what you throw at us, BMFville will always rise.
Those who gathered for the presidential presser erupted in cheers, their unity stronger than ever, as a DJ played James Brown's "I'm Black and I'm Proud" from huge outdoor speakers set up for the event. Big Meech then spoke and sent a clear message to those who dared to challenge BMFville. "You come for us, you better be ready to face the consequences. The world is BMF." As the city's skyline remained intact, its people knew they had faced one of their greatest challenges and emerged victorious. The Twin Towers now stand not only as a memorial, but as a symbol of unyielding resilience against all odds.
Meech, now we finna go get that nigga Vlad. I hope y'all enjoyed this BMF Reborn series. This was the 4th installment, and most likely the last one by GK David Movie Stories. So if you haven't seen all 4 videos, check them out. The links are in the description, and if y'all want us to keep these going, just type yes in the comments.